Hello, beautiful people. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Steve. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I am joined again by my wife, Lindsay, and we are going to be reacting to how to make a proper British cup of tea. Now, this is something that Lindsay has been wanting to check out for quite some time now because she does enjoy tea.
Yeah, and we were sent a bunch of tea, so I want to be able to use it correctly.
Properly. Personally, I am not a tea fan. I've never been a tea fan. Now, granted, I will say that here in the US, tea is definitely different from what you guys do in the UK, which I'm sure most of you know that in America is basically iced tea, either sweet or unsweet.
Or herbal tea.
Or herbal tea, which technically really isn't tea in the sense of what British people are usually talking about, I don't think. I don't even know if that's what they call it. Do you guys call herbal teas? Because I know that tea to most Brits tends to be like Yorkshire tea, Earl Grey, it's like the brown tea.
Or black.
Or black tea, right? So I'm not really sure if herbal tea in the UK is called tea. But here it's in the South, it's all sweet iced tea.
Which is crazy. You don't like sweet tea. Yeah. You're from the South.
I'm from the South, and my whole family loves it.
I love it.
Lindsay loves it. Everybody I know, I don't know anybody who doesn't really love sweet iced tea except for me. I was always the weird one out that never could get into it. I just never liked the taste of tea. I've also tried it unsweetened. Didn't like the taste of it either.
The bitterness that you don't like?
I just don't, it's just not refreshing to me. It just doesn't, at least what I've tried so far, I just don't like it. The only time I've liked anything like that is hot herbal tea. And that's usually like a combination of chamomile and skullcap and some other teas that help relax me for sleep, bedtime tea, that type of thing. I do consume that every once in a while. But as for regular tea, I'm just not a fan so far. But what I would like to say is it was maybe, I don't know, I'm going to say like 3 months ago, I did do a reaction to what
like
British afternoon tea is. The
fancy
tea time. Yeah, and it was at Fortnum and Mason's, I think. It was a department store in London. And it basically showed kind of what was a part of the quintessential British afternoon tea, where they either have like the biscuits and scones or sandwiches, and then it really didn't go into much detail about how to
prepare
a proper British cup of tea, which is more about the presentation of it and stuff like that is really what I gathered from that. And what I learned in the comments was that on average, that's really not what the average British person does. Maybe that is what the Queen or King does. That's what, people that are maybe a little more in the upper echelons of society, the wealthy people may do, I guess. But it seems like on average, the average person that has British cup of tea every day, or multiple cups of tea from what I understand, they basically just make a cup of tea. And sometimes they might have a biscuit with it or something like that. But it doesn't seem to be anything overly fancy like what I saw in that. But I'm rambling now.
Yeah, we should get into this.
But yeah, I think this will be interesting. Even though I don't personally like tea, I think this will be very interesting to see this. And I know Lindsay, for future reference, so that she'll know how to make a British cup of tea, this will be a good learning thing here. So enough rambling from me. Let's go ahead and dive in and check out how to make a British cup of tea.
This week I've made a very short Sunday video, but it's one that many of you have been asking for, which is to tell you how the British make their tea. Now, the British are avid tea drinkers. As a nation, we drink 60 billion cups of tea per year, which is nearly 1,000 for every man, woman and child per year in the country.
Okay, go back.
60 billion cups of tea?
I want to hear what she said.
You didn't hear it?
No.
I can tell you what she said.
Oh my gosh.
She said 1,000 cups of tea. What?
Just go back. I want to hear it. Okay. I don't believe my ears.
How far? Right here?
No, I don't think it was that far.
Maybe right here?
Yeah.
Avid tea drinkers. As a nation, we drink 60 billion cups of tea per year, which is nearly 1,000 for every man, woman and child per year in the country.
1,000?
Most of us have it in quite a similar way.
Dude, that is literally 3 cups of tea per day for every man, woman, and child. And I guess that is including Brits that don't like
You
tea.
said every day? 1,000 cups a day?
No, 1,000 cups a year.
Oh.
That would be roughly 3 cups a day per every man, woman, and child.
Makes sense if you're drinking it that often.
But
My question is, when does the tea drinking start? Like, what's the age that most
age? I don't know.
like,
but
do kids drink it?
I think they do. I think they start
Y'all
fairly
are
young.
hopped up on caffeine then.
Well, it's no different than the coffee here in the U.S. I mean, coffee and tea actually has
I'm
less.
not a coffee drinker though, so
I'm not either a coffee or a tea drinker, so I just drink water for the most part. But that is insane because you realize that 1,000 cups a year per person, man, woman, and child. When you take into account, there are going to be. I've seen a couple in the comments of certain videos saying they don't drink tea, and that is a rarity in the UK, I think.
rarity.
Yeah, a rarity. but seriously, like, so you think about like the percentage of people that don't drink tea at all, very rare probably, or not as many. Or you think about people that may just have 1 cup of tea. That means there are a lot of people probably having 4 and 5 and 6 cups a day. That means that means there's a lot of people probably that is the only thing they're drinking all day. It's got to be.
You definitely have to have an electric kettle.
Oh,
I want one.
I think everybody there
if you're
does
drinking
it.
that much tea a day.
Yeah, that's insane.
Right.
Wow.
Keep going.
Wow. What a stat.
Which is not the way that it was first had when it was discovered in 2737 BC by the Emperor Shen Nun, who was sitting beneath a tea tree as his servant was boiling water for him, and a leaf fell from the tree and fell into the water, and so tea was discovered, or so the legend goes. But the worrying thing to me as a Brit is that from the very first moment that it was discovered, it wasn't being made the way that we like, because we do not like to add the tea to the water. We like to add the boiling water to the tea. And there you have the most important thing about making tea in Britain. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that the British way is the correct way. It's just the British way. All around the world, people like tea in different ways, and I'm sure they're equally good in their own right. But if you're trying to please a British person in your life, here is how to do it. Now, you might be expecting me to start with this setup.
I love her dishes, first of all. She has such a cute setup. And I just love the actual teapot.
Yeah, I kind of like everything about her room here. I like the shelving with the presentation of the dishes. I like her wood table. It's a rustic looking table, which I appreciate.
I love the vintage stuff.
I like the door. I like everything about this room here, actually.
All right, let's see what she does.
Because this is what most people think when they think of British tea, and it panics them because they don't know how much loose leaf tea they should put in, exactly how to set it all up. But in fact, as a general rule, unless we're afternoon tea or there's a big number of us, we don't use this. What we do to make a cup of tea is this. This is much more what goes on in any British household. A massive amount of tea bags, which are in no way individually wrapped, and most of them are still stuck to each other, and milk, and for some people, Dan behind the camera for example, sugar. That's all you need. Now, in many countries around the world, people have understood that the Brits like a tea bag, water, milk, and sugar, and we're often given these things, but in the wrong order. So
I don't know. Have you ever had milk in tea?
No. But I've never actually had coffee either, and people had milk.
You've never had coffee?
Not really. I think I've like taken a sip of
Really?
black coffee or like.
Wow, that's interesting.
I just.
Have you ever had hot, like brown
I've
tea?
had hot black tea.
Okay.
Like, yeah, but the American version.
What do you call that? It's not brown. Is it brown tea? Is it black tea?
Black.
Is that what you call the like regular tea make what they're using or what use iced tea and stuff?
It's black tea leaves, I think.
Okay.
this is the way tea is usually served outside Britain. You end up getting warm water in a cup, a tea bag on the side, which is generally individually wrapped, and then some milk if you've asked for it. Quite often it's hot milk, it definitely needs to be cold milk, and some sugar if you take it. The problem is, that there's almost no point in going on at this point. We have already lost before we've started. Because this is what happens when you just try and dunk a tea bag with unnecessary accoutrements. There's no need for the string and all these little wasted bit of cardboards and all of this amount of packaging is incredible. This is what happens.
That's the way I make herbal
And
tea.
the problem with that is that the slightly cooler water just doesn't brew the tea enough and it doesn't get dark enough. So when you add
it's not
milk,
strong
No,
enough.
no. What we normally do with herbal tea is put the tea bag in the mug and then pour
Pour the
boiling
hot
water
water
on
on.
top,
Yeah.
and then dip it
Really
like
hot
this.
butter.
Yeah, and then dip it like
And
this.
then I steep it with it covered for a long time.
you end up with a kind of
Looks like coffee.
Although this is very upsetting. This is just not at all what we're looking for in a cup of tea. Plus, please note, it's only half full. Whenever my father was handed a cup like this, he'd say, half a cup of tea, thank you. It really should be filled to the top with boiling water. So now I'll do it the proper way, proper for the British. The kettle has literally just boiled. At this point, it is a race against time. Tea bag in first.
Okay.
Water straight on top of it.
Yeah, that's how.
That's how I would
Action
do
of the
it.
boiling
Yeah.
water hitting
Yeah.
the
Look how
tea
much
bag
stronger it is.
that makes it
Yeah.
brew very quickly and gets all of the tea out of it. The correct way is then to wait for 2 to 5 minutes for it to brew correctly, but almost nobody does that. So instead, we squish it with the teaspoon and
That
you have
quick?
an instantly dark, heavily brewed cup of tea. Some people might like it.
I always heard that squeezing the tea bag releases
The tannins,
Yeah, and
the
it makes
bitterness.
it more bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you let it steep the full amount and then just take
Look
it
at me.
out.
Look at me. I don't drink
You only
tea.
know that because of me.
I don't drink tea, but I know about tannins. Look at that.
A little bit stronger, but this method of putting boiling water straight onto a tea bag is the method that's used throughout Britain. And then people just add however much cold milk they want.
Cold milk. Okay.
I like it pretty much.
That
like
cools
that.
it down some too, so it's easier to drink
This is
right
the
away.
point at which the sugar would be added, only I don't take any. And you can see it's still steaming. It's really warm. And even if it means I have to wait a tiny bit before I can drink it, at least I know that it's been properly brewed the way that I like it. And the problem with the Brits is that there's no real way of knowing whether they are happy with the cup of tea that you've given to them or not, because it's almost impossible to tell from their thank you. We're a very polite nation, and we will just thank you politely for anything put in front of us.
Your tea, madame?
Thank you. As opposed to,
Cup of tea, Steph?
thanks, Dan. You see, the difference is almost imperceptible unless you
I notice.
I know
It's
too.
much more informal the way she says thanks.
Yeah.
Dan, or whatever his name was. Whereas the other was like a little stuffier, the polite thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too.
actually know the person, you think that they're perfectly happy with the tea that you've brought them. But no, this can be set aside, and this is all that's needed. Ooh, well, but it is much better with a hot British buttered crumpet.
Marmite?
And if you want to go really British,
Oh.
you can put Marmite on it.
I'm
This
getting
is yeast
PTSD.
extract, and it's really a love it or hate it situation. I'm definitely on the love side. Another day, I will show you how to make the proper English afternoon tea with the loose leaf tea in a teapot. That's also amazing, but that'll be for another day. And in the meantime, cheers.
That was really interesting.
That was a very short,
Short and to the point,
to the point.
but it was somewhat eye-opening for me. I would have, like, if I had just tried to prepare it myself without seeing how it was done, I would have poured the hot water on the tea bag. That part I wouldn't mess up. But then cold milk, that kind of surprises me.
Yeah, it surprises me too.
I would think you would want your tea as hot as possible.
It surprises me, but at the same time, I'm thinking I could understand how that's better. I don't know what the difference in the how it makes the tea taste between cold and hot milk. What happens
Or
between
even just
both?
warm milk.
But what I could see is that would automatically cool the tea down some, so you can drink it faster.
True.
I think if I was a tea drinker, like hot tea, I think I would appreciate being able to go ahead and get to the tea. but I don't know. So I'm curious. So is she accurate? And I would think that probably is the case, that most people don't generally use more these fancy dishes and whatnot every day. They generally do the faster way, like she just did.
I mean, who has time?
Right. The average person that's working and taking care of kids or grandkids or whatever it is. I think people that may be retired or especially wealthy people that go to somewhere like Fortnum Masons and stuff, they're the ones that are more used to having the more fancy tea sets and stuff like that. I can't imagine that the average person goes and sits down multiple times a day to this fancy, thing here. It just doesn't. I don't think most people have time for that. So
okay, so I have questions for you watching, but only if you're in the UK. Do you drink it the way she does? Do you add sugar? Do you eat anything with it? Biscuits, crumpets, scones?
No, a lot of time. That's something I'm curious about. If they're, I've always seen or not seen, but I've heard people. They always talk about in the comments and stuff like they have like biscuits with their tea or something like that. It's like, but if they're having 3, 4, 5 cups of tea a day, I know they're not sitting down having a biscuit every time they have a cup of tea.
Oh, that's another question I want to know. How many cups of tea a day do you drink on average?
That's an interesting. I'd be.
I bet it varies wildly.
It definitely varies wildly. But it's so weird when I think about tea in my head, and I know tea's drunk all over the world, but like like I think of it as like it almost seems like a mythical beverage in the UK. It seems like it's so popular and so like it seems like it's so revered and it's special. It's a special thing.
It's a very big part of your culture.
And culture and life, and so it's almost like it seems. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just.
Also, do people who choose not to drink tea or don't like tea, do you feel out of place in society in the UK?
Well, I mean, I can imagine. I think you might feel out of place if you like literally are sitting down with people.
Like, do you feel a sense of pressure, so to speak, to partake? I guess there's worse things to be pressured into having.
Yeah, there definitely is. But I honestly, I gotta say, like, I would be surprised. I would be surprised if I actually liked even this version of tea. Like, I don't like the flavor of the tea leaf itself. Therefore, I
like tea.
I think you probably like it.
I don't know if I will though, because it seems
the milk.
It weirds me out a little to add milk to it.
Yeah,
but I will try it.
But it's no different in some ways than the people who drink black coffee versus the people who add cream and sugar to their coffee. No, but I'm saying that's the same type of deal.
Yeah.
It's this. Yeah. It makes it's like, do you just like the leaf with the water, or the bean with the water in the case of coffee, or do you like it being creamy?
Yeah.
And being a little more rich. And do you want to sweeten it and take some of the bitter off?
Things. I like heavy cream. I like
sweet
all
things.
So, yeah. So, I'm excited to try it this way.
I would be surprised by, I would like it because I just don't like the flavor of tea leaves in general. So,
but the milk might mask it and make it more palatable.
Maybe. I do like milk, but guess we'll see. But yeah, this was interesting. We'd like to do learn a little bit more about tea at some point.
And we'll have to do a try video with tea and biscuits. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about biscuits, but not tea. Definitely not my thing. But
hey, don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, you got anything you want to add?
No.
All right, guys. This was really interesting. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey to discover our British and Irish ancestry. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Bye.